I just got in an order from Taschenmesser Mad. I hope I'm pronouncing that somewhat accurately, who is a producer of Micarta Victorinox scales. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to try my hand at assembling a custom Swiss Army knife, something that I have not had the chance to do quite yet. And we're going to find out whether it is too large of an undertaking, or if it's something that can actually be done quite reasonably. So hope you're along for the ride, and we'll see how it turns out. These scales from Taschenmesser Mad come off of Etsy. They are micarta. They're available in a fair range of sizes and styles. You can get them in different colors, with or without the scale tool slots. And of course, you can see here in the 91 and 58 millimeter styles, potentially more, I'm not sure offhand. But these came in just the other day. You can see these are in the natural micarta, so they're unfinished, but I'm hoping that once I get the tool working and I'm happy with it, I can do some finishing work myself. I've taken this pack apart. You'll see that it came with a nice little sticker, a QR code with instructions for finishing, or just finishing ideas. You can sand this down and then use some different oils to kind of give them a nice luster. It does come with some sandpaper, which is nice, some 400 grit. And a card with the production date and all the details of it, which is super nice. So I won't be finishing these today just because it's going to take too much time, but I think it's a pretty nice little kit. And like I said, you can get them in different varieties. I think you can get plus scales or standard scales, which these are, and with or without the cross and all sorts of different stuff. Neat little tool from a nice small shop. We're going to be doing a 58 millimeter model today, just to get our feet wet. As I said, this is my first time assembling a Swiss Army knife, a custom Swiss Army knife. What's nice about the 58 millimeter models is that it's a fairly kind of universal platform. When you look at the tools, some of them are going to be 2 layers thick, and some of them are going to be 1 layer thick. So in this case, we've got the Phillips driver, which is 2 layer. The scissors from a 58 millimeter would also be 2 layers thick. And then we've got the orange peeler and the flat screwdriver with ruler. And those are each 1 layer thick. So when you match them up, you're going to have a 2 layer thick tool. And you can put the Phillips on one side and then the other 2 tools on the other side. It'll give you a nice compact tool, but still quite capable. And in fact, the pivots would be on opposite sides in this case. The springs for the 58 millimeter are all 1 layer thick. So when you do a 2 layer tool, you would double up the springs to make them 2 layers thick, which is super kind of handy and convenient. And it's not as complex when you get to the 91 millimeter tools. You've got a whole breadth of different tool thicknesses. So you kind of have to know what those tool thicknesses are to design the tool. I'm going to go ahead and add a lanyard ring. From our shop, you can get packs, standard spring packs, which will give you 2 of the standard springs. And you can get spring with a lanyard ring, which will give you 1 of each. And otherwise, they're identical, but this one has the lanyard ring loop, and it'll come with the lanyard ring. From my scrap bin, I'm going to grab 2 external liners. Those have the notch cut out on them. I've also got down here a bunch of little, these are the remnants of the brass pins, so we can salvage the rivet caps. Will come off of these. I got 8 of those, so I can have 8 caps. And then finally, from our shop, again, we've got the 58 millimeter replacement pin pack, which comes with, in this case, 4 1.5 millimeter brass pins, and those will replace the pins. These are all damaged just from our dismantling process. If you're doing this at home, you can drill these out and take a little more time. These I just have left over because we disassemble a ton of these to have parts available for our customers. So that's going to be a little bit different depending on how you do it. And then finally, we've got the scales, the micarta scales from Taschenmesser Mad. and really excited to see how these go on there. And then once, like I said, we may come back and finish them in another video. But I think the Micarta is going to be fun. I think it's going to age well. I think it's going to be a nice addition to our tool. So for the assembly, I've got my jig here, my Swiss Army knife assembly jig here, which I highly recommend something like this. I hope we're going to be able to bring something like this to market in the near future. But right now, this is just something, I've got a video on this, so check out the channel to see the video on how I made this. And what I do is I'm loading in the 1.5 millimeter brass pins into some pre-drilled slots, which match the liner cutouts. You can see here I've got the 58 millimeter. This is for 91 millimeter. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down, in fact, I think I have that upside down. I'm going to lay down one of these liners to start. And then from there, I'm going to build the tool out. I'll go ahead and start with the lanyard ring since I know where I want that to go. And so I'll just drop these pieces in. Now the 58 millimeter, one of the reasons that this jig is so important, and I think with the 91 as well, though I have not gotten my hands on trying one yet. These springs are going to be under tension as everything's kind of fit together. So that's why I do recommend using a jig like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with, you see I layered in the first two springs, and as I put in the screwdriver, which will, this is its orientation, I'm going to take just a punch here, and I'm going to compress that spring until that piece drops down and into place. If I was working with a blade, you'd want to be careful because you're going to be creating spring tension, but that'll close right up. I'm going to go ahead and do the next layer next. Just make sure that's in place, and I put that spring on backwards. So give me a moment. Flip that spring over, and we'll add a second spring on the close side. Press those into place, and then I'm going to add the other single layer tool here. And the reason I'm doing two on this side first, and this will snap shut, is because I've got a two-layer tool going on the other side with that screwdriver. So this was going to be where kind of everything hits the fan. It may or may not work on my first try. I'm going to press that spring, that first top spring in a little bit until that drops into place. It just did with a little click, and then I'm going to press that bottom spring in and continue to apply pressure downward on the screwdriver until I get that to drop into place. And I might try this open. It's fighting me just a little bit. And you don't want to lose tension on that top spring at the same time. So a couple of moving parts at once here. Let's see. I'm still not in place. I'm going to move the camera out of the way just so I can get a better view of this. But, oh, hey, I did it on camera. So that'll snap into place. I guess I don't need to cut. And then I'm going to drop the final liner on. And we'll just give that a little nudge. And make sure everything's pressed nice and flat, because we're going to try and remove this without the whole thing exploding. And remember, everything's under spring tension. Once you've got everything locked into place, I just tried this as a test run, and it did seem to come out okay. Actually, before I move it, I'm going to just go ahead and drop on my pins here, or my rivet caps. So let me do that real quick. I might be missing one from earlier. And I'll go ahead and I'm going to leave that. I'm not going to cut it down just yet because it'll give me something to grip. But what we're going to do is I'm going to pinch all of these, not trying to move them. I'm just going to lift the whole knife straight out. gently, because like I said, I don't want it to explode on me. And now that it's out, I can use this steel plate here to peen against. So let me regroup for just a moment, grab what I need, and we will jump back in a moment. So the next step I'm thinking, we'll find out, is I slipped the rivet caps onto one side, and I'm going to cut those pins as flush. Maybe not quite as flush as I can, but close to. I'm going to cut those pins, let me move my thumb out of the way, with a pair of flush cutters here. And I'm just going to back off as little as almost possible. Maybe like a 32nd of an inch, probably less. I'm just going to snip each of those. I'm going to continue to apply pressure, pinching the tool together as I go. Wear eye protection. We got here. I'm just going to back off just a touch. And last one. Snip that shut. Now I'm just going to take a piece of Scotch tape. Whoops. If I can get it. I'm going to lay this over this so that these rivet caps don't fall off as I flip it over. Because I'm going to go do the other side next. So I guess it's going to take 2 pieces of Scotch tape because I can't aim. So those hopefully will stay in place. I'm going to flip that over. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And finally, now I've got everything cut to length. I might just put a piece of Scotch tape on the top as well, just to keep them from bouncing around when I start this next step. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a steel hammer in this case, just because steel being harder than the brass, it should peen over better. I'll probably also use a punch just to direct my force a little bit better. And I'm going to just use this steel plate that is attached to my jig, and I'll tap all those down until those brass rivets are nice and kind of sealed up. One thing, I'm on a pretty rickety workbench, so I'm going to probably move this down to the floor, which is carpet over concrete, and that'll help speed up the process, because if you've got a wiggly workbench, you've got a lot of force going into things that are not where you're trying to direct it. So I'm going to go take care of that. Like I said, it'll just be a nice little gentle taps until everything's nice and sealed up the way I want it to. Well, that actually worked out. Not going to lie, I had to try a few different techniques throughout the process of this build. And like I said, I'm not an expert. This is my first time doing this from start to finish. But the process I'm going to show in this video is the one that ended up working. So if you follow these steps, you should get, hopefully, to where I got. It's a really fun process once you get the hang of it. When I was doing the peening, I ended up just using the hammer. I didn't use the punch at all. Maybe I could have benefited from that. What I ended up doing was tapping on both sides. Make sure to apply pressure kind of center of the tool as you start off. That's going to keep the tool from exploding. Because remember, there's a bunch of spring tension, and until those rivets start to get fully peened over, you could release that pretty easily. So I keep pressure down, did one side, did the other, and then I kept rotating it just to make sure I was applying kind of similar forces to all the pins. And then once you start to get close, I could see that there was less room, less of a gap, and the rivet caps were not moving. Then I started checking kind of the tool tension, and you don't want to overdo it, or this will be, you'll end up with too much force needed to open the tools. So this should be nice and simple to grab. So what I'm going to do now is clean up a little bit, and we're going to try finishing the tool off. Since the video began with the Taschenmesser Mad Victorinox scales, I figure it's fitting we end the same way. We're going to apply these. Now, I think they do need a fair bit of force to fully compress. And actually, I have an idea for this. Let's grab, I've got my Bessie vise here. Ignore the mess on either side of the bench. And I'm going to try squeezing this in here. So I'm just going to get that cinched up. And I've got kind of rubber pads on that, so it shouldn't damage it too bad. So all we're going to do is, well, it shouldn't damage it at all, hopefully. Just squeeze that tight and see if I can get it to pop into place. I think I just heard a little bit of it pop. I also might need to seat it down. It's a little bit high up in the vise. So let's try. Yep, one side's this. You can see on the top side it's seated in perfectly now. So I'm just gonna sit it down a little further so that I think I was too high and there was no metal behind the rubber. So we're just gonna compress that. And we'll release it. What I think might also work really well for this is some Knipex pliers wrenches might work really nice. Now I'm going to do one side at a time. And, sorry, this is a little bit out of frame here. I'm just going to do the one side at a time, compress it down nice and tight. What's really nice about these scales, I wasn't 100% sure when I bought them whether they required adhesive to lock them in place. It doesn't seem like they do. So that's kind of awesome, in my opinion. Lock this into place here. And of course, this is a little more awkward because I'm trying to do it for video. So that bottom right just clicked into place. So I'm leaning the vise over on end. And I'm just going to repeat this process a few more times, and eventually I'm sure that I will get everything into place. I'm going to cut here just so I can stop being quite so awkward. And we'll see you in a sec. As almost always happens, about 3 seconds after I stopped rolling, the job got done. Scales look super nice in my opinion. We're going to go ahead and grab our scale tools. And I did test fit these. They're snug, but I'm sure they'll wear in. It's just micarta. So I think they'll wear into a really nice level. There's a really great detent right now, which I actually prefer, but you can see how nice that snapped into place. And that's not coming out. So that's super nice. And then the last little bit, if I can find it, I might have to grab a fresh one because I seem to have knocked it away, is going to be the lanyard ring here. Let's grab a fresh one here for now. And we will slip that on. And then I'll take a minute to try and find the missing lanyard ring. I had it here and then I made a mess again, as is typical. So, lanyard ring's off of that spring, which I'm going to set aside so I don't put back into inventory. And we're going to slip on, oops. There it is. So there is our custom 58 millimeter. I don't even know what to call it. It's like a rambler, but without the scissor. I don't know. But I love that. Comes with obviously it's got the micarta scales. It's got the Phillips combo tool, which I think is going to be super handy. A little flat tool with a ruler. And then the orange peeler, which I think will be really, really handy as a package opener. And I don't need a knife because I carry a knife most days. Quick pocket check. It's the Benchmade bug out. Mini bug out. It always is for the most part. But super excited. So that was my first time reassembling a Swiss Army knife from scratch. And while it Definitely takes some doing. If you're inclined to do it, I think if I was able to do it, I think you'll be able to do it. So good luck. Hope you found that inspiring. You know, your mileage may vary, but I think this is an exciting hobby. I'm kind of excited to do more of these. So if there's something custom you want to see done, let me know in the comments down below. And maybe there's something we can do about this, just to keep some more of these kind of ideas coming and test out some different options. Thanks for watching.